Willie, it appears that, first of all, let's talk about the Capitol being evacuated yesterday. Yeah. It appears that somebody at the Washington National's PR department, as Jonathan Lemire said, forgot to send one extra email.
Oh, boy.
Say, hey, we're going to have this plane flying overhead over the Nats Stadium and, like, drop some people out of it, parachutes. And so you had frantic messages going out on Twitter yesterday, and the Nationals were going, look up in the sky, everybody. There's something, you know, I don't know exactly what happened, but, man. You got to kind of notify. It's not like it's in Dubuque. You got to notify people when you're going to be flying planes around the airspace in D.C.
Yeah, we're laughing only about the absurdity of the miscommunication. People were not laughing on Capitol Hill when they thought there was an unannounced plane flying into their airspace, given everything that Capitol has seen over the last couple of years, by the way. Garrett Haake is here with us, NBC News senior Capitol Hill correspondent. Garrett, Nancy Pelosi, Speaker Pelosi, none too pleased in a statement last night that somehow the Capitol Police were not alerted that a plane would be entering airspace and a couple of Army parachutists would be dropped into the stadium there before the Nats game. What was it like on Capitol Hill when this sort of lockdown first went out? Look at that picture.
Yeah, Willie, this was the weirdest thing. I was leaving the Capitol. I was walking to my car, and I had seen this evacuation notice go out and thought, well, that's kind of odd. And then I looked up and saw the plane circling the Capitol. And I just turned back around and ran back over to try to figure out what was going on. I mean, it was a truly bizarre situation. Most of the Capitol's empty, obviously. They're out this week. House and Senate are both out. A lot of staffers had already left for the evening if they had come in, because it was around 6:30 at night. But the folks who were there evacuated out and we're left just kind of standing on the lawn wondering what had happened. And you mentioned that statement from Speaker Pelosi. None too pleased is putting it very mildly. I could almost hear the anger in her voice reading this statement. She called it outrageous, and she suggested there's going to be an investigation here because, while we joke about it, this doesn't speak very well for the kind of close interagency coordination that everyone was promised we would see more of following January 6th. So an incredible, spectacular view, a bizarre moment, but something that doesn't exactly speak well for the way that the government is supposed to be interacting with itself to keep D.C. safe.
I mean, and for people that haven't been to D.C., the Nats Stadium is just right across the interstate from the Capitol. Right. So it's a very close proximity to each other. And Garrett, it's not just like the Capitol Police that have a reason to be upset or worried, but think about the people that were maneuvering around in that plane. I mean, they're lucky they didn't get shot out of the sky.
It's impossible to figure out at this point who dropped the ball here and who knew that plane was coming and that it wasn't. Our Pentagon producers reached out to NORAD, and it turns out there were never like fighter jets scrambled here in this situation. So somebody knew about this plane. But if you've ever flown into Washington, D.C., you know you have that weird angle where you kind of come up the Potomac and you land at DCA. So much of the airspace around D.C. is restricted. So to see anything flying low like that over the Capitol, over Nats Park, over the mall, is the kind of thing that gets D.C. residents a little bit spooked, even because it just doesn't happen. So somebody dropped the ball here, and if that Pelosi statement is any indication, somebody better have their things in a box close to their desk pretty handy when I think Congress gets their teeth into this.
Yeah, and you look at what happened, just based on what we know so far. I mean, this goes right to the FAA because the United States Army aircraft was talking to the control tower at Reagan National. So Reagan National knew what was going on with the plane. Somehow the word doesn't get to the Capitol Police or to the people who really needed to know. So there's some failures along the way. Thank God it was nothing. But, I mean, you saw it yourself, the reports of people streaming out of the building, some element of panic, as you can imagine. So I understand that things will be different probably as of this morning at a few agencies.
Well, yeah, I think that's probably right, Willie, and I think it's worth mentioning. It's not just January 6th. I mean, we've had multiple bomb threats. We had that guy who parked out in front of the Supreme Court and said he had a bomb in his car. I mean, we've had the Good Friday killing of a Capitol police officer at a barricade. I mean, the Capitol is a workplace for tens of thousands of people. It's part of a community, and this stuff just keeps adding up for the people who live and who work there. And for people, you know, I was talking to a staffer, a friend of mine last night, it's exhausting because you never know which one of these things is something goofy, like Army parachuters maybe not communicating properly with the Capitol, and which one is going to be something really serious.